Welcome to Mage Wars. I'm Alan Gerding. Today we're going to talk about the ready stage of the game round. Let's get started. Mage Wars is played over a series of rounds, which continue until one mage takes enough damage to be destroyed. The last mage standing wins the game. Each round is divided into two stages, the ready stage and the action stage. The ready stage must be completed before the action stage can begin. The ready stage is the bookkeeping part of the game round, where you channel mana, pay upkeep costs, and pick your spells for the round. Both players play simultaneously during the ready stage. The ready stage is divided into 6 phases. Both players must complete each phase before the next one can begin. On the first round of the game, each player rolls the effect die to see who gets the initiative marker. The high roll has the initiative for the first round. After each game round, during this phase, the player with the initiative marker must give it to his opponent. In this manner, the initiative marker alternates back and forth between players. The player with the initiative acts first during the action stage and always goes first anytime he must determine the order of the events. The next phase in the ready stage is the reset phase. Flip all action markers, quick cast markers, and ready markers on your cards to the active side. That's usually the white side up. After we reset, it's time to channel our mana. Each round, your mage will generate or channel some amount of mana. This mana is added to your mana supply. When your mage casts a spell, you spend mana from your supply. Mages cannot spend mana they don't have. If you don't have enough mana, you can't cast your spell. As you can see here, this mage has a channeling rate of 9. That means during the channeling phase, you add 9 to his mana supply. Any objects in the arena that channel mana also add mana to their supply at this time. Your mage records his mana supply on your mage status board. If other creatures or objects channel mana, place mana counters on their card. And this is to show how much mana is available. For example, Philela, the Pixie Familiar, she has a channeling rate of 1. That means during the channeling phase, you're going to indicate that she's channeled 1 mana by taking a mana marker and putting it directly on her card. There is no limit to the amount of mana a mage or object can have. After channeling, it's the upkeep phase. Some spells have an upkeep cost. This is a cost in mana that must be paid during every upkeep phase. If you do not pay the upkeep cost, or you can't pay the upkeep cost, the card is destroyed. Remember, if you pay it, the card isn't destroyed, but you can always choose not to pay it, therefore choosing to destroy the card. Also, some spells and conditions take effect during this phase, such as burn or rot, and creatures with the regenerate trait remove damage. If you want to know more about various traits and conditions, you can always look in the codex in the back of your rulebook. In this phase, you get to choose the order of the events that affect your character and creatures. For instance, you can choose to use the regenerate phase before you allow the burn to take effect, which I really recommend. You don't want to die from the burn and then choose to regenerate. It doesn't work that way. But in the rare case that there may be a timing issue, the player with the initiative decides the order. Once all upkeep costs have been paid and any traits or conditions which have an upkeep effect have been applied, we can move on to the best part of the ready stage, the planning phase. Each mage prepares for the round by choosing up to 2 spells from his or her spellbook. Both players simultaneously choose their spells. Place your chosen spells face down in front of you, thus keeping them a secret from your opponent. This way, he or she doesn't know what you are planning. Remember, the spells you choose during the planning phase are the only spells from which you can choose during this action stage, so you really want to choose wisely. However, you don't have to use the spells that you've picked from the planning phase. Any spell that you end up not casting simply goes back into your spellbook at the beginning of the next planning phase. Some creatures, called familiars, and some conjurations, called spawn points, also have the ability to cast certain spells. Choose the spell they are going to cast during the planning phase and place them face down next to the casting creature or conjuration. For instance, here we have Philela, and she's going to cast a spell and we're going to put it face down next to her. Then we have the Lair, which is a conjuration, and we're also going to put a spell face down next to it. Once you and your opponent have prepared all of your spells, the planning phase is over. Now begins the deployment phase, where spawn points cast any spells that were prepared during the planning phase. Starting with the player who has the initiative, you may cast the spells you assign to your spawn points. Reveal the spell you have chosen, pay the mana required, and resolve the spell. For example, here we have the Lair casting Bitterwood Fox. When you're casting from a spawn point, first use the mana that is on that spawn point, indicated from the mana markers that have been placed there from the channeling phases. Once you run out of mana on the card, just go into your regular mana supply. Or, if you cannot or choose not to cast a spell, the spell is returned to your spellbook at the beginning of the next planning phase. So that's it for now. But next time, join us as we talk about the action stage. I'm Alan Gerding, and I'll see you in the arena.